Fear isn't always born in the shadows of haunted houses or the whisper of things that go bump in the night. Sometimes, fear lives in the silence, the kind that stretches across an endless horizon where there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. What would you do if the only thing standing between you and death was the mercy of the sea? This is a tale of desperation, guilt, and the final choice a man can make when survival slips through his fingers. Welcome to the Fear Archives, and tonight's story, Adrift, Mercy of the Abyss. The first thing Evan felt was heat. Not the gentle warmth of a sunny morning or the kind that makes you close your eyes and relax, but searing, merciless heat. It pressed down on his chest like a weight, blistering his skin. His eyelids were crusted with salt, glued shut. When he forced them open, the sun struck his eyes like a blade. The sky was endless, no clouds, no shadows of land or rescue. Just an infinite stretch of blue that went on forever. He groaned and shifted on the hot rubber beneath him. His body protested, every muscle sore and bruised. His mind, slow and fogged, began to put the pieces together. The raft. The memory hit him like a punch to the gut. The storm, the boat, the screaming wind, and the waves, those monstrous waves swallowing everything. He was alive, but he wasn't sure if that was a good thing. Evan sat up, the raft rocking beneath his weight. The heat pressed down on his back, but the cold knot of fear settled in his stomach. The emergency pack was still there, but smaller than he remembered. He unzipped it with trembling fingers, a sick feeling rising in his throat. One flare, one bottle of water, half full, no food. He reached for the emergency radio, cradling it like a lifeline. He turned the dial, static. He tried again, nothing. Just the cold hiss of empty airwaves. He let the radio drop onto the raft and stared into the horizon. No land, no boats, no shadows of rescue. Above him, the sun was relentless. Below, he leaned over the edge of the raft and stared into the water. The ocean was unnervingly still, a glassy dark blue that seemed to stretch into infinity. And for a moment, he could almost feel it pulling him in. Why are you even here? The memory came in like a wave. A dim room, cigarette smoke curling toward the ceiling. Logan, his oldest friend, sitting across the table, grinning. "Just one trip, Evan," Logan had said. "One haul. The payout's insane. You could pay off your debts, maybe even buy back the house." It had sounded simple, a luxury yacht run. They weren't running drugs or weapons, just artifacts. Priceless things stolen from ruins deep below the waves. All they had to do was move them. What harm could it do? Evan could still remember the way Logan's grin faded as the storm bore down on them. The look of pure terror as the mast cracked like a gunshot, and the ocean swallowed their world whole. Now, under the unforgiving sun, Evan whispered to no one, "It could kill you." That's what it could do. He was here because he'd been desperate. He thought he could outrun his guilt. But the ocean had caught up. The sun finally sank, replaced by a sky full of stars, brilliant, cold, and indifferent. The ocean became black glass, reflecting the night. For a moment, it was peaceful. But peace is cruel when you're alone. Evan closed his eyes, trying to sleep, and that's when he heard it. A hum. Low and deep, almost too faint to notice. It wasn't coming from the sky, and it wasn't coming from the raft. It was coming from beneath him. His eyes snapped open. Slowly, he leaned over the edge, peering into the dark water. The reflection of his pale, gaunt face stared back. Beyond that, nothing. Just the abyss. He laughed weakly. "Imagination," he muttered. But the hum didn't stop. By the third day, his stomach felt like a hollow drum. His tongue was dry as bone, his lips cracked and raw. That's when the storm came. A single raindrop landed on his cheek, a cool blessing from the sky. He tipped his head back, arms open, as more fell. The taste of rain was pure bliss. Then the wind picked up, a low moan that grew into a roar. The waves swelled like fists. Before he could react, the raft bucked beneath him and flipped. He hit the water, cold, sharp as a knife. His lungs screamed for air as he kicked toward the surface. He broke through, gasping. The overturned raft was drifting away. He swam with the last of his strength, hauling himself over the side. But his food bucket, gone. His one chance at survival, swallowed by the sea. Gone. That night, the shadow appeared. At first, it was just a darker patch of water, a trick of the light. But it moved, slow, deliberate. Evan's heart thudded in his chest. It was enormous, far too big to be a shark. And then it passed closer. He saw them, two pale, glowing eyes beneath the waves, cold, ancient, watching him. It didn't attack, it just circled, patient. Whatever it wasn't in a hurry. By the seventh day, he was hollowed out. Thirst and hunger had carved him to his core. But something sharp remained, defiance. He lashed together a makeshift spear from a broken board, tying it with fraying rope. The shadow drifted closer. Evan forced himself to stand. The raft swayed beneath him. The pale eyes rose, watching. He met their gaze, fear in his heart, but something else beneath it, freedom. He screamed into the abyss and leapt. The water swallowed him whole. Cold silence roared in his ears. His spear outstretched as he plunged deeper into the dark. The shadow surged to meet him, vast, unknowable. For one fleeting moment, everything, fear, guilt, pain, was gone, and all that remained was freedom. And so, the sea keeps its secrets. Was it fate? The choices Evan made, the sins he carried? Did the ocean judge him for them? Or was it something older, something hungry, waiting beneath the waves? In the end, we'll never know. And maybe that's the scariest part. If this story sent chills down your spine, leave a like. Subscribe to the Fear Archives for more tales of survival, terror, and the shadows that haunt our world. Until next time, stay safe. Or if you're not careful, you might become the next chapter in our collection.